Good day. My name's Wayne Duvenage from the organization Undoing Tax Abuse. And today I'm going to have a discussion with somebody who probably not going to be classified as a whistleblower, but somebody from within one of the CETAs that we featured very recently and regularly over time, but more recently, the construction CETA, sometimes known as the corruption CETA. This is a CETA that has been embroiled in many allegations of gross mismanagement, maladministration, abuse of power, corruption. It's been headed up by a gentleman by the name of Malusi Shezi, and we featured him and some of the issues that have unfolded a number of times. Today is quite an interesting story because it starts really on Sunday. The Sunday Times ran an expose on CETA's corruption, featured on specifically on the construction CETA, and in that discussion, I spoke about the fact that it's no secret that Mr. Shezi has taken over the role of HR. In other words, he's the person who's doing the placements. He's the person who's firing people, moving them out of the way. And this is a concern when you have expertise, when you have these functions that are managed by other people, and when the CEO starts to just cut through the lines of command and structures and starts to wheel and deal in this space. You've got to start asking yourself the questions, why? Lo and behold, in marches the management team at the construction CETA and removes the HR manager. So I'm going to have this chat with Brian. I'm going to ask you a few questions, Brian, because what I saw in some of the video footage of what was transpiring there yesterday was quite horrific, was quite mind-blowing. And Brian has asked for his face to obviously be blurred out for this interview, not because he understands very clearly that's his name, and he knows that the authorities and Mr. Shezi and others know exactly who we're speaking about, but just for purposes of not being splashed over social media and that, we'll honor that. And thank you for coming in today, Brian.
Thanks, Wayne.
So Brian, just take us through a little bit about yourself before we get into what happened yesterday. You've been at the CETA since 2022.
Correct. I've been at the CETA since March 2022. I came in on a short-term 2 months consulting temp role as a senior manager human resources. Just to take you back, I've got over 25 experience in HR, having worked for some of the leading FMCG and telco companies in the country. I've had a stint to work overseas in Malaysia and Singapore, as a regional HR business partner. So I'm quite averse when it comes. And my previous role before I joined the CETA, I was actually an HR director in one of the one of the global companies in the country. So I know how an organization needs to run. I know what a high-performing organization looks like, and I know what leadership in leading an organization needs to look like. So when I came to the CETA, I'd come on a short stint, as I indicated. I was very reluctant. I mean, I know myself. I was reluctant to go and work at the CETA because I know myself in terms of the certain principles that I cannot bend. And I know how government works. But at that time, I wasn't getting a lot of, it was just after COVID, I wasn't getting a lot of consulting gigs. So I thought, okay, let me just take this. It's for 2 months. And when I got there, 2 months ended up being 4 years.
Right.
I came in on a position that exists, which is a senior manager. Then I was extended after 2 months for 6 months. Then later on, after that 6 months, I was extended on a contract to say, because we're going through a restructuring of the organization, your contract will run up until we appoint a new senior HR manager. And meaning it was open-ended up until we finish restructuring or we appoint a new person. And I was okay. I waited, and it's been 4 years. We've been delayed in getting this restructuring process. We are gaining momentum. We are we finalized the structure now,
Right.
whereby we are now going to advertise and do that. So it means I could have applied for the position if I want to.
Right. So, Brian, clearly you've got a lot of experience externally pre coming to the construction CETA, and you've been there for 4 years. Initially started out as temporary, and And it's been taking some time to fix that and get the structure right coming out of administration. But you've played this role, the senior manager in HR. What's happened? Because all throughout that period, Malusi Shezi has been the CEO. He was appointed just before they came out of administration. And we've, a lot of concerns from whistleblowers in the past who've given us information around tender irregularities, supply chain management, manipulation, and irregularities there. We did an interview a while back with Tumi on this. And but it's not just her. There's been a number of people that have been sidelined. What have you seen taking place? What's concerned you about the construction CETA over the last few years?
To be honest, when I walked into the construction CETA, we walked into a dysfunctional organization.
Mm-hmm.
That was in March 2022 with Shezi being at the helm. But there was always this belief that, listen, I'm a change agent. I regard myself as a change agent. I'm a seasoned, as you say, and a seasoned HR professional. It was a nice, organization with about 120 people. I thought, I could really make a huge impact. I've worked for global companies with a lot of people, and to sometimes shift a ship like that, it's difficult. So I thought, nice organization, small, I can be able to make a huge impact in a small organization.
With a budget of how many millions?
I mean, at one stage, the CETA was about 800 to close to $1 billion.
Oh, it's a lot of money.
Sitting with over $1 billion in the bank. So it's a small organization with with huge budget and a huge potential.
Yeah.
What a good way of earning a living while making a difference in our country. So actually, the signs were just there when you landed because of, I remember that within the first 3-4 months I was there, 2 executives that had started in March, in February that year. By June, those 2 executives both were chartered accountants.
Mm-hmm.
One was a CFO, one was the senior manager in the office of the CEO, were suspended.
Really?
Were
they doing bad stuff?
No. I mean, for me, even the charges that he had put on the table just didn't make sense. And obviously, I was taken aback because their suspension letter were prepared in his office, and those were people that were very close to him.
Yeah.
I mean, in such a way that they were all chartered accountants. They've all worked for the AGSA, but have somehow known each other outside the CETA. And, it was quite surprising for me. That's when the red flag started to say, why would...
And you being the HR manager or senior manager there needed to be privy as to why was he removing people in these positions so quickly?
Yeah, but he didn't explain at the time. Okay. He had his own reasoning. He said there's certain things that they did and he needed to investigate further. And those people were suspended, and he said there's going to be investigation. That was around June.
Yeah.
It started around March. That was around June. And he had been less than a year as CEO.
Yeah.
And okay, fine. They went through. He started investigating them because he hadn't charged them yet.
Yeah.
But they resigned before there could be any hearing. But that was very much run by lawyers and not by me as HR. Lawyers were the ones managing the whole process.
Why would he bring in lawyers when he's got experts like you to do this?
Yeah. Then I'll come to the issue of lawyers. Yeah. Then within, I think, around August, I remember it was still quite cold, around August the same year, July, August the same year, in 2022, there was a dossier that was published by the union at the time. Very thick dossier that went to Parliament. And now I was confused to say, but the guy is less than a year in this position. And there's already a dossier of wrongdoing against him.
Who ordered that dossier?
That was Nehau. That was the union.
Okay, so the union got investigations and put together a dossier of wrongdoing.
Yes, they put a dossier, quite a thick dossier of wrongdoing.
By Shezi or by the senior management?
By Shezi.
All right.
Shezi in 2022. So for me, it was quite concerning to say, but the man has just recently started. It's after administration. We should all be looking forward to a new dawn.
Yeah.
And growing the organization and really cleaning it up. Why would the union already start having such dossiers about him?
So that was presented to Parliament? Or?
Yes, it was presented to Parliament.
What happened?
Nothing happened. So that was in 2022 that the union started flagging him.
And then what happened? Did you see this conduct of pushing back and defending his position and
Of course, ultimately, the union guys that one of the guys that did that was leading the dossier as well got dismissed later on. So the organization has been under this constant. I mean, the guy. There's just been reports since day one about him, which I never understood. To say, how does a man who's brought in to clean up end up being the one who is doing all these things?
But I get a sense that there's this absolute environment of fear inside the construction CETA over the last number of years. Anybody speaking out, anybody standing up to this abuse of power, which is what we call it, fears for their jobs.
I mean, let me just give you a typical example. There's been 5 chartered accountants that left within a space of 18 months in that organization.
5 chartered accountants.
CAs, qualified CAs that left that organization within a space of.
And what positions were they filling? The CFO roles?
We've lost 3 CFOs within out of the 5. I would even say 4 where 4 of them were CFOs.
Fired or resigned?
Tantamount to being pushed.
Yeah.
Actually, all 5, I would say they were pushed.
And I imagine as a CFO, you've got sight to a lot of what's happening with the financials, with the money flows, and they might have been asking some questions, probably uncomfortable questions, so they weren't happy to be kept around.
Yeah, most of them actually did indicate, I mean, the last one that I know did put up a fight, did write to the board, did indicate her discomfort with the CEO's behavior.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, she was initially tried to resign, and he's the kind of guy. I mean, I can tell you, maybe today after this incident, after this interview, he might concoct some charges against me, even though I know that there's nothing that he will concoct some charges in order we can say, I'm revoking your end of contract. I'm now suspending you. I want you to go through a discipline. That's the kind of person. He's very vindictive.
Sure.
That I mean, that's what happened to the previous CFO when she resigned and wrote and said, "I'm leaving because I'm uncomfortable with the kind of instructions that you're giving me."
Yeah.
Then he said, "No, I'm revoking your resignation. I'm now putting you under suspension. You're going to go through a disciplinary hearing," because he can.
So she resigns, and he says, "I'm not accepting your resignation. I'm going to discipline you and fire you."
Yeah. Because that's how he works. He wants to embarrass you. I mean, with me, he can actually...
And make it very difficult for them to get jobs again.
This can be converted into, you can say, listen, I'm revoking your end of contract. I'm going to go through a disciplinary hearing and just, because he can.
So, just to get a bit of a summary, and we're not surprised by what we're hearing, is because this has been coming out for some time. But there's an organization that has this culture of fear. People are told to just toe the line. People who speak up are moved aside. The CEO starts to assume these various roles and functions like HR, IT, starts appointing his own people. And invariably, you have a dysfunctional organization with all this power resting in the CEO. By the way, there's no board, so there's no board oversight. So he's the de facto board, and he's got all of this power, and he's just running rampant. So tell us what happened yesterday, because after the interview, I started getting messages from people inside Construction CETA that were saying that you were being removed, that you were being summarily dismissed. What happened? Take us through what happened yesterday.
Yeah. Listen, I've been getting people telling me that, listen, this guy wants to get rid of you.
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing is, I even went to my boss last week, Thursday, and said, you know what, I'm hearing people.
So you've got a boss. Just explain the structure. That's an executive manager.
That's the CEO, and there's 3 executives. And one of them is my executive, great lady, who I report to.
Mm-hmm.
And, she's been fighting with me. And she's just also, someone who's standing up for what is right. So I report to the executive manager.
Right.
So what happened is that I've been getting this people telling me in the corridors to say, you know what, this guy really wants to get rid of me. And it's got nothing to do with anything other than the fact that I irritate him with my principles.
Right.
I'm one guy that I want him to do things properly and do them. And most of the time is to protect him as a CEO to do his job properly, because at the end of the day, we're going to have audit findings. So I want him to do things properly. So that irritates me.
So follow due process.
Follow due process. So that's the biggest fight, if there's any fight that we have between me and Mr. Shezi. So yesterday, as I was sitting, I get a visit from one of the executives and actually one executive and one person from legal, and also a security guard from there. And normally they bring the guy who's the armed security guard. They come to my office. And I ask and say, but they said, can we see you? Then they give me a letter that says end of contract. I said, okay, ending my contract. My contract is ending, and they are giving me one month notice. It's going to end on the 22nd of August. But we want you to stay at home and, give back the
leave with immediate effect.
Leave with immediate effect. But then I ask and I say, but no, I've got my rights in terms of the contract itself too. I don't want to serve. I want to serve my notice, and I haven't. There's no way where it says I did anything wrong for me to be dismissed in a way that they wanted to dismiss. It's normally when something has done something improper that you come and escort them out. I said, no, I'm not prepared to leave. I will serve my notice, and I need to ensure that I do a proper handover.
Yeah.
And based on that, the security company did check and say, listen, it's not their job to remove people physically in the building. And I said, it's not even 4:30. I'll leave at 4:30 if needs be, and hand over the stuff. So there's no need for all this drama. And they insisted. I said, no, but I'm going to stay and I'm going to finish my job, and I'll hand over the stuff if I need to hand over. But I've decided that I want to serve my notice. Then I said, if you want to remove me, then call police if needs be. And, I really never thought they would do that. And they really did call police, and the police were there within. I mean, I've never known that SEPs can be so quick to respond.
So efficient.
They were extremely efficient. It's as if they were
outside.
Yes. But anyway, they came. There was about 5 policemen that came. At first, then luckily the union members also came. The union leaders came. They heard about this thing. But I'd written in a very a open letter at the same time. But I'll speak about it later. But as I was there, the union comes. Then there's these policemen, armed policemen. It was not just you. I mean, you can see in the video that they had this R5 rifle. And
I mean, that is to me, that's intimidation. That's sending a message to everybody else. We're going to embarrass you. We're going to frog march you out of here with armed police. So this is the type of intimidation tactics that just uncalled for.
Yeah, no, I've seen such. That was clearly to try and intimidate me, because, as I said, it was not because I did anything. It was not because it was just a normal end of contract with 1 month's notice. There was no need for me to leave with immediate effect. There was no need to force me not to. There was no allegations of any wrongdoing. So why they need to come and frog march me out with security or with police? Then the police, to be honest with you, they were quite understanding. They asked me, what's the story? I said, no, this is employee matter. There's nothing. And they were also quite shocked to say, why does your employer? We see your letter does not say that you did anything wrong. Why are they trying to get you out of this place? And they said, you know what, this is abuse of process. Can you call the CEO? We want to hear his story to say, how come does he call police on us and say that you are refusing to leave when this is nothing else but employee-employee relationship situation? So I should comment, just that I forgot the policeman's name. And the executive went and they said, go and call Mr. Shezi to come here and explain. And as we were still waiting for about 30 minutes, Mr. Shezi doesn't show up. Instead of the CEO showing up, 2 buffed guys come into the room. I thought, okay, maybe it's the lawyers. Maybe now call the lawyers because they didn't want to come. Only to find out that there's now 2 sets of detectives that show up. There's 2 sets of detectives show up.
Both from this police?
Yes. Then now it's another set of police come, because these ones were saying no, but this is an employee-employee relationship. We can't, this person is not refusing. He's simply saying he wants to finish off his work and do whatever. So why are we being called? And they were calling the CEO to come in. Instead of coming in, he calls other policemen to come into the room. Now there's these 4 or 5 policemen plus these 2 detectives. And we're trying to find out what are you guys doing here?
Yeah.
And this policeman stood up his ground and said, listen, this is my case. This is my situation. The 2 detectives don't have to be there.
Truly.
And I think they also realize that, but this is just a harmless situation. You're a senior HR manager. You're being told that your contract ended. You are saying that you want to serve your 1 month's notice as per Labor Relations Act. What is wrong with that? Why did we have to be called? So even the 2 detectives ultimately realized that they cannot, there's no case here, or there's no need for them to be here. And the other police were asking, why were you called in? Who called you in?
Yeah.
And they were questioning the other executives to say, we said you must go and call the CEO. Instead, you go and call in, I don't know, your own private police. But ultimately, the detectives left. The policeman who was there, I should say, kudos to him. He handled the situation quite well, and he felt that he wanted to see the CEO in order to speak to him. When we finally spoke to the CEO was now not in the office. He said now he's in a doctor's room. He can't come and explain himself, because they said, we want you here to come and explain yourself. Why did you call us and say there's somebody refusing, when we can see that clearly it's just a normal employer-employee relationship? Yeah. And he said no.
No grounds for immediate dismissal.
There was absolutely no grounds for what they were doing yesterday.
I mean, it's understandable in any business where you come to an end of a contract and an employer can say, look, fine, we'll pay you to the end of the month, but you don't have to come in. Nothing's going to be fought about that. I think the real issue here is what has transpired and what has led up to the sudden decision to end your contract, when this position is going to be advertised shortly, which you now stood good stead for applying for and probably being appointed. You are highly qualified. You've got all this experience. But clearly, Mr. Shezi doesn't want you there because of your principles, and you're standing your ground around issues of neglect of process and duty.
Listen, I know I irritate the guy. I'm an irritation to him because he's just an unethical and incompetent person.
Yeah.
It's just by his nature.
Yeah.
There's people that I say you can find that the person is acting in a way that is maybe corrupt alone, but here we've got corruption mixed with incompetence and narcissism.
Yeah.
All put in one, an absolute abuse of power, unfettered power abuse that he cannot be held accountable by anyone. And he has shown that whatever he wants to do, he can do, and he's never been held accountable for that. And that's the kind of people have become numb.
Yeah.
When it is so sad that when people become so numb to the environment where people say, you know what, we can see these people are eating.
Yeah.
We don't care anymore, but just don't touch us.
Yeah. So what happens is you give rise to a culture and organization where everybody just puts their head down. They know that if they stick their head up, they're going to be removed, as have people in construction CETA, and now you're the last one so far. And we were appealing to the outgoing minister, now who's just left in Kabane, and now we appeal to the new minister, Buti Manamela. This is, as we've said a number of times, a cesspool of corruption, of networks that have infiltrated a number of these CETAs who are eating to this day, who are conducting themselves in this abusive relationship with their staff, ruining people's lives like yours and others. And when is this going to stop?
Yeah, let me give you the enablers of this process. One of the enablers of this is even what I call legal firms.
Yeah.
And so-called forensic investigators. If you go to the CETA, I would not be lying if I throw in an amount of close to 300 million used for all sorts of forensic investigation and legal firms. And the modus operandi of this guy is that he uses legal firms and he uses forensic investigators to investigate everyone else but himself. Yeah. And, you cannot, legal firms, after all, are paid by the CETA. So you find situation that they will do investigations, and all or the forensic investigators, they investigate everyone else. Reports come to him, and he will make sure that the report suits the narrative that he wants, in such a way that most of these firms, as soon as they give a dissenting view, they get kicked out, and he kicks them out unceremoniously. Whether you are a legal firm, whether you are a forensic investigation firm, if you do not give him the results that he wants, you are out.
And I want to pick up on that point that law firms are enablers in organizations like this. And we've seen that before. A lot of expenditure on legal matters that don't really need to be passed through lawyers. Tell us a little bit about your experience of that at CUTS.
No, our CEO abuses the system of using legal advice.
Yeah.
And because law firms have become enablers, it is easy to pay millions into law firms and they don't bite the hand that feeds them. So once you pay them fees and they collect all these fees, they will do whatever a client asks them to do, even though they see that things are wrong.
Yeah.
But as long as they get paid, they will do so.
So they will write reports that might not be in the best interest of the organization.
I've got reports that I've read and they are not even worth the paper that they're written on. And they were investigated by a law firm, and you ask, but shouldn't the law firm have advised? I have contradicted a couple of times law firms and said, you didn't even have to go to a law firm. I could have given the advice for free. An example is that a law firm on average would cost up to 500,000 to do a disciplinary hearing. Why?
500,000 rand for a disciplinary hearing, and he calls them in for disciplinary hearing.
Yes. And I have actually came up with a solution to say, disciplinary process are what they call quasi-judicial process. They do not need law firms and lawyers. It just delays the process. And when you use lawyers, then the other party as well is allowed to use lawyers. Yeah. And I said, let's go for organizations like Tokiso, which is a more of an employee relations organization. And I did go through an RFQ process, followed due process, appointed one, and they sat on 2 cases. And each case we spent less than, one cost us less than 50,000. Right. As compared to 500,000 in average a disciplinary hearing. And out of nowhere, after those appointments, one of them, because they do things properly, unlike lawyers. Lawyers sometimes, they're getting paid, so they will sometimes follow whatever you tell them. And just because one of because Tokiso did a disciplinary hearing and they ruled against us.
Right. So you had to reinstate the individual who was dismissed on the basis of a law firm's instructions or findings.
There was an appeal. The law firm actually told him and said, accept the outcome of the appeal. I wrote to him and said, accept the outcomes of the appeal, and refused both the advice of HR and the advice of the law firm, ultimately. But the issue that I was getting at is the price that the cost of law firms.
Yeah.
The cost of law firms is out the roof. And I came up with a solution to use Tokiso. So on average, it cost us about less than 50,000 to do a disciplinary hearing. Mm-hmm. He canceled the contract.
My goodness.
He canceled the contract after demonstrating to him to say, we've just done 2 disciplinary hearings. Both of them cost us less than 50,000 as compared to using law firms where we have to pay 400,000, 500,000 minimum per disciplinary hearing.
This is outrageous. This is complete abuse of power. I hope this is investigated, by the way, and we'll be putting this to the new minister, that this type of conduct has to be investigated. If this is what's happening, you and I, again, we're paying. This is a waste of taxpayers' money. And this is the type of stuff that hopefully the Auditor General also picks up and finds against him and raises personal costs against him.
He investigates anyone. You could wake up tomorrow, this guy has asked either a firm of lawyers to investigate. He's investigated me a couple of times. Some flimsy reports, because what he believes in, I've studied this man. What he believes in, he must have something on you. He must have something on you, a mistake that you've done, an error that you've done, either, so that he has a report on you that to say, one mistake that you do. And once, I always say it's like almost making a contract with the devil. You do one thing for him, it never stops. And then I feel sad because of all people that are his enablers. Yeah. Honestly, I don't blame them. The guy knows how to manipulate power. He knows how to use power, and people ultimately are meant to comply. And the other enabler is your board system currently in these situations. After all, the board members, it's not like the CEOs are hands off.
Yeah.
The CVs come through to a portal by the CETAs. Yes, it's by organizations, but ultimately they have the power.
The CEO has the power to decide who's going to go through for nominations. And there's manipulation that took place there.
And the quality of sometimes of these board members, and the issue that there's just too much money in that it's easy money.
Yeah.
CETA is easy money that you can
Boards are
easily,
well paid.
people can easily, I mean, we had a board that easily, I think last year, in 1 year, they met over 50 times or so, special board meetings. But when you ask about content, quality of the outcome of those meetings, I mean, you really wonder that, do we really have a functional...
So we've seen that. We've seen a number of boards that do look away because they enjoy the luxury of having these board meetings. They like a lot of extraordinary board meetings because they get paid each time. And board members in some of the CETAs, we saw a chairperson earning over 3 million rand in a year. Not the construction CETA, but another one. So you've got to start questioning, what is the setup here? What is actually going on? And then when you ask the boards to have oversight, to listen, to engage with OUTA, because when we give them the hard evidence of gross manipulation and wrongdoing, then they've got to act, but they don't want to act, so they don't even want to listen and engage with us. So Brian, so you unceremoniously kicked out of the office. You're going to obviously be paid for the month. There's no charges against you. As you say, you're expecting him to concoct some charges against you. And I have no doubt that you're going to get lawyers teaming up to work on this case, because it's a slam dunk as far as I'm concerned. Our worry is that we, the taxpayers, are going to end up paying more fees unnecessarily because of a person's conduct to defend Shezi or the organization, when there's no defense here. This conduct is just outrageous.
Yeah, as I said, the enablers, I mean, I was talking about the boards themselves and their inabilities, because actually they themselves, remember, some of the board members themselves run organizations, the same organization which the CETA's sponsors.
Yeah.
So you can't be a referee and a player at the same time. That your organization that is within the same sector needs sponsorship from the same organizations that you are sitting on the board.
So there's a big conflict of interest.
And I know for a fact that at one stage our board did recommend a suspension for Mr. Shezi. That I'll give it. That there was a letter that was last year.
Yeah.
And apparently in the contracts, the minister is supposed to agree with the suspension. However, in this case, the board has never received feedback from the minister herself on the suspension of Mr. Shezi. But there's been opportunities and there's been a lot of noise around the request. And people have never said, fire this guy without due process. Everyone has just simply said, the guy must just be properly investigated and then a decision needs to be made.
There's no doubt, Brian, in our minds, from what we've seen, that if a proper investigation, independent one, not of his choosing, take a Worksman's, for instance, comes along and did good work at Services CETA, does an investigation on what we see. Not only will he be removed if a board applies its mind, but there are charges that have to be laid here against him and others. Brian, thank you very much. Thank you for your civil courage. Thank you for standing your ground. We need more people like you. Sadly for us, the CETA is in a worse place now, losing your competence and your skills and your principles. Hopefully that will be rectified. Hopefully that will be rectified for a number of whistleblowers who've also stood their ground. We've got a long journey to clean up the CETAs. There's a big question mark as to do we need the CETAs, quite frankly. There certainly needs to be an overhaul of the situation, because what we've seen over time is the change in the playing field. There are a number of executives in the business world that just don't believe in the CETAs anymore. And yet 1% of payroll goes to them every year, 21 billion rand collectively, a little bit more now. This cannot be. And we're calling on business, we're calling on civil society, and we're calling on government to reset the button here, to rethink how do we do skills development, upliftment, training, and repurpose CETAs for their intended purpose, and not to see billions of rands going into the hands of connected cronies who do not deserve 1 cent of the money of the services, which many of them haven't even provided.
Yeah. I just want to parting shot to say there are great people at the CETA.
Yeah.
Majority of employees are doing a great job. I mean, I'll give you an indication. This year, the performance of the CETA, there's 2 levels that people need to distinguish. There's what employees are doing on the ground and what the executive is doing at the top.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we are talking about the possibility of the performance of the CETA achieving something like 97% achieved of the IPP. That is because of the foot soldiers on the ground doing it without the support of the executive.
Yeah.
And then you've got the issues of the audit, which we likelihood we are going to get another audit this year. And it's because of that part of the business is controlled by the executives and their nefarious intention. So the people have, I mean, for instance, the people know that they have performed.
Yeah.
Even without the support of the executive. Yeah. However, these audit results are not a reflection on the people. Yeah. It is more a reflection on the executive and their involvement in trying to mess up in terms of.
Brian, I want to commend you for bringing that up, because you're quite right. And this is the one thing we always try and say is we mustn't tar the entire CETA with the same brush. There are many good people, you're quite right, in the administration of these CETAs. Many good people in the police as well. You know, in the recent exposés on the police. And we must never forget that it's those people inside that do the good work we need to commend. And we say to them, and I say to you and your colleagues inside these construction CETA and other CETAs, stand your ground. Obviously, we understand you have to keep your head down, because if you put your head up, you're going to get taken out. Collect evidence, collect it in a responsible manner, record conversations, but just know that we respect the fact that there are good citizens, good people within the administration that are doing great work, and that it must be hard and very embarrassing to work in an organization that you see in the media for the wrong reasons. Because when you go home, or when you on the weekend speaking to your friends, where do you work? And you say construction CETA, they're like, you know, what the hell do you work for? They're not corrupt. They are hardworking citizens. It takes a few rotten people, and normally at the top of the organization, to create the chaos and the abuse that's taking place now, and really to decimate and destroy brands and the culture of those brands internally. So thanks again, Brian, and for raising that. Good luck. We'll be watching your case. Keep us updated as to what happens. I hope it all goes well for you. We'll be fighting for your rights as well and fighting in your corner. Thanks for your courage.
Thanks, Wayne. I'm not going to be a victim. And I think I'm the one hope that the people at the CETA are hoping that this will really bring the change. And I didn't bring myself here. The situation brought me to where I am, and I'm going to fight till the end and to ensure that
you do that. Well done.
To do.
Well done. Thank you for that, and good luck. We'll be there.
Thank you very much, Wayne.
All the best. Cheers.
Thank you.